How a 12-year-old fights for her life. Next on Issues and Insights.
This is what is making news right now. As attacks continue.
The question on all our minds, will giant bugs take over the city?
This is as close as we dare go to this huge bloom.
A massive kill of wildlife in the state of Arkansas.
This is not a nice little bonfire like we had earlier.
Who are trying to calculate the exact amount of oil coming out of there.
Welcome back to another episode of Issues and Insights. I'm your host, Danielle Axelrod, and joining me today is 12-year-old Emily Calabro and her mother, Kathy. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
No problem. So over the past year, Emily has been battling a form of brain cancer, which is so hard for me to pronounce. So Kathy, I'll give this to you if you want to just explain her diagnosis and kind of when it all started.
Okay. Emily had a germinoma, which is a form of brain cancer. Back in 2012, October 2012, she was actually diagnosed with diabetes insipidus, which is a very rare disease that children don't normally get. And it is a form where your body doesn't absorb any kind of fluids. You're missing a vasopressin, which tells your pituitary to make yourself not thirsty. And we had gone to a Dr. Barrows. He didn't think this could really be her problem, as she was very small and very skinny for a 10-year-old. She was on a 6-year-old scale. So they had sent us over to Children's Hospital to do some investigation, to do an MRI and a CAT scan, and she wound up having another histiocytosis of the pituitary stalk. But they weren't too concerned, and Dr. Phillips, a neuro-oncologist at CHOP, he had performed some more tests, and we waited quite a while. He said right now it wasn't an issue, so we waited a little while, and then finally, we went back in October 11th of 2013, no, actually of 2012. She wound up having her first brain surgery. They saw on an MRI that there was a swelling, but they couldn't get to the swelling, so it was inconclusive. So again, we waited, and she was medicated and ran different spinal taps. In December, she had a spinal tap to see if there was any cancer in her fluids, and it wasn't. And they sent us back on our merry way to wait again. She was doing great, back to her normal activity. And then in the end of January, the beginning of February, she started to have terrible headaches and nausea. And we went back to Children's Hospital on a Tuesday. And they told us that she would have to have another MRI, which showed a completely different scenario now, that there was a large tumor and they weren't sure what it was, and that it had spread, and that they were going to contain it. So she had brain surgery on, I believe, February 27th. Her second brain surgery in 5 months. Wow. And they took it out, and it was a germinoma.
Wow.
So
that's a scary thing. I mean, for such a young girl to go through. As a mother, how did you feel when not only you found out, but just going through that whole process?
In the beginning, I tried to make believe that it wasn't us, that it was okay, because nobody gets nervous at Children's Hospital or at UPenn, where she had to go. Everybody's very upbeat, positive, calm, so we're very strong faith in God. So we trusted the doctors. We didn't know anything about it. It's an extremely rare type of tumor. And they did an experimental surgery that some of the surgeons she hadn't even done on a child before. She was their first child patient. So we had to have blind faith. And
yeah, it's a little scary.
It's a little scary. And you laugh a lot out of fear.
Right.
But she never looked sick. Emily never acted sick, so it was kind of easy to make believe that maybe they had made a mistake until they told us we had to start her proton radiation therapy. And then it was a little scarier.
Yeah, I'm sure. Emily, how did you feel when you found everything out?
Well, I was very nervous because I knew people have cancer, they die from cancer. But I also felt strength because I know people also survive from cancer, so why couldn't I conquer it too?
Right, yeah. Now, for your treatments, you were sent to UPenn through the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. What were some of the treatments that Emily had to go through while she was there?
Well, every week, after every session, she went through 6 weeks, 25 sessions of proton radiation therapy, Pencil Point Proton, which is a very rare, also kind of treatment that they do on children. It instead of doing a chemo or radiation, this pencil point beam comes out of this huge proton machine. It looks like the engine of an airplane that like a stewardess could sit in. They have a table and they strap down the child, and the pencil point goes directly into a mask that is made on their face. They mold a mask out of plastic, which was actually the scariest part. It's horrific. It looks like a horror movie. Yeah. And they make markers, and the point, they move the child through the machine, and the beam goes through that point, and it directly hits the tumor.
Wow. Could you breathe when you were in that mask?
Yeah.
Yeah? And how did you feel while going through all the treatments while you were there?
I had all normal activity except I was exhausted. I couldn't stay awake for a full day. In the middle of the days, I'd have to take naps, almost like a baby.
Right.
But as the weeks went by, I got even more tired and I couldn't even do anything.
Wow. Now, you have 2 brothers and a sister and a mom and a dad, so you guys are obviously a close-knit family. How did this shift your entire family dynamic just throughout the whole process of it?
I would say that we became closer as a family. We were a very close family anyway, but I think we became a lot closer. You start to enjoy things more than you did before. Like things that would normally bother you, you have to let go, and you make everything into a fun day.
Right.
The kids were away at college. It was very hard on our children when they were away at college.
Yeah.
Very hard. And one of our sons actually left his college away and came back and went to school in New Jersey so he could be with Emily more.
Wow.
But
yeah. All right, well, I'm going to stop you right there. We have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll have more Issues and Insights.
Every child is curious.
George, look what I found.
Turn their curiosity into a lifelong love of learning.
That's a periscope.
It's one of the most important gifts you can share. Create a curious reader.
Oh, you want to build a castle like that one? This is super bedtime reading.
Share a book together today. Visit read.gov.
Welcome back to Issues and Insights. If you're just joining us, I'm joined with 12-year-old Emily Calabro, who has been fighting brain cancer for the past year, and her mother, Kathy. So when we left off, we were talking about your treatments, everything you had to go through, and your family, and just how scary this can be. But did you have a lot of support from your family and friends?
I had lots of support, mostly probably from my dance studio, who actually made t-shirts and raised money for me while I was in the hospital.
Oh, very cool. Now, when I was talking to your mom, she said you were actually the strongest one going through all of this. How did you manage to stay so strong?
Well, definitely the support of all my friends and family, and I knew if other people can get through this, I can too.
All right, and I know you are actually affiliated with Monmouth. You got connected to their women's soccer team. How did you wind up getting connected to their team?
Through something called Team Impact, which sets up kids who have diseases or cancer. They get set up with one of the college sports teams. So I got set up with the Monmouth women's soccer team, and they've just been great throughout this whole process.
So was it your idea to kind of get her connected with the team, or did someone come to you about it?
At Children's Hospital, they have social workers for every cancer, well, as far as we know, the neuro cancer patients and for their parents. So she had recommended, Emily really didn't lose any functions, so they said maybe she should get involved with the team since she was on a dance team, and she likes sports, so they said, why don't we get her connected? So Zoe Arts at Children's Hospital, they do it for a lot of the children that are there, and they find somebody within a half-hour radius of your home, and then they kind of see who's they interview the team, they interview you, and they see who's a good mix.
Oh, nice. So how's your connection been? Like, what kind of events do you do with them?
Well, recently we went to the Monmouth women's and men's basketball game, and I got to play on the court. And
Very cool.
We also have lunch together all the time. I go to mostly all of their games, and we just have fun like normal girls.
Oh, and is that something that's very important to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kathy, how do you think relationships, watching your daughter kind of go through this, how do you think that other children who are going through similar or the same situations, how do you think that impacts them just being part of a team and having those relationships?
I think it's important because they finally feel like a normal child. They're watching these successful teams and they're going out there and they're realizing that no one's treating them differently. They know them as the child. They know something's wrong with them, but they get to be a part of this great thing that a lot of children will never have the opportunity to do, especially a lot of Team Impact is mostly severely ill or chronic disease, children that get involved with it. So just the camaraderie. She has a whole group of sisters, coaches. It's amazing what they do. It makes them feel special, and they have an outlet, not just their family, because a lot of the children are secluded. Right. They can't go out. They can't really go back to school. Emily couldn't go back to school for a while. We had home instruction, and it was great because you're outside on the field. You don't have to worry about the germs. It's a lot better. Even the locker room, but it's okay. It really gives them some insight into things they won't see. And it's inspirational. She knows she wants to go to a big school now. She knows she wants to be part of a team, and it's just wonderful. The whole family benefits from it. Yeah, definitely. And speaking of school, how has this affected your school work?
I mean, really, it didn't affect me at all in school. All my friends contacted me while I was in the hospital. I got my work done with my teachers at home, but nothing affected me at all. I'm in all honors classes, so
wow, good for you.
It really didn't affect me.
Good. So obviously this is a very life-changing situation. Kathy, how has this changed your view on life from before this all happened to now?
Before, I think that you kind of go through the motions of like rushing with the 4 kids, getting to work and doing things. This forces you to stop and take a look at what your priorities are and realize as long as you have like a good core, a nucleus of like family and friends, all the outside things are not as important anymore. The materialistic things are definitely not important because you can't buy health. Right. I mean, you can get better doctors perhaps, but still your health is your health, and only you can do that. And I think it's brought us very close to people that we didn't know and given us a lot of contacts we didn't know, and met great families. We have great friends, and even with our soccer team and our coaches, we met people we never would have had the opportunity to meet.
Right, yeah.
It's really prioritized the way you want to live your life. I think we're more carefree, happier people than we, strangely enough, I think we're happier because of this than we were before.
Right, good. So Emily, going into the future, is there anything that you want to accomplish in life?
I want to be a doctor to help kids just like me who are fighting cancer or diseases that could take their life away.
Wow, that's awesome. So going into the future, I know, Emily, you have another MRI in January, so we're praying and hoping that it comes out clean, but as a family, what are your plans for the future moving ahead with this?
We're trying to go to a new normal, actually, where things are, everyday things are just, not to point out so many doctor's appointments. Emily doesn't like to be the kid with cancer, she says. So we're trying to move on and get back to things we did before, but with more enthusiasm to do them. We're going with Make-A-Wish in May to Disney World, which is exciting with the whole family, and even my kids that are in college and one that works, we're all going to go.
Oh, very fun. And they pay for the whole thing?
Yep.
Oh,
it's
nice.
through the Make-A-Wish Foundation in Monroe. And pretty much we're going to try to just keep Emily on the path. She wants to go to medical school, so I guess we'll be studying a lot.
Yeah. All right, well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have today, but thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for watching Issues and Insights.
This is what is making news right now. As attacks continue.
The question on all our minds, will giant bugs take over the city?
This is as close as we dare go to this huge plume.
A massive kill of wildlife in the state of Arkansas.
This is Foster, my